Hello builders, and welcome back to the World Zoo project. In this one we're doing a time-lapse build for the pigs, the Tamworth Pigs to be precise. But if you're new to the channel and you don't know what the World Zoo project is, well, simply put, it is a giant zoo where I am attempting to get every single animal into it. Well, that or until my computer blows up from the size of this save file. Whatever comes first. Right now, as recording this video, I am at 110 species in the zoo. And most certainly my computer hates me every time I load this save file. And I feel like it's only a matter of time until my computer blows up into a ball of flames. But you know what? Until that day happens, I'm just going to keep building and making happy little habitats for my animals. And speaking of happy little animals, first things first for these piggies, we're going to build them a barn, and it's going to double as a little watermill. This whole area of the zoo is supposed to be one big farming community, so each of the habitats are going to emphasize that. Whether that's just putting in some farm fields, or putting a little building like a watermill or a windmill. So to create this building, I have just used some of the European rustic pieces, which are personally some of my favorite. I love the ability to change all the colors of the stones, to really suit your needs. In this case, I've colored the ones touching the water a little bit more green, just to emphasize that there might be a little bit of moss growing on them. And I also want to let you builders know that this is going to be up on the workshop, so if you want to add this windmill to your own zoos, you can do that. So just click the link down below to go to the workshop and give it a little subscribe. Usually when I'm building these kind of structures, I don't go in with much of a plan other than a vague concept, which is why you'll often see me changing a lot of the patterns as I go. In this case, I decided we need a little bit more of the moss rock along the bottom. And just to hide that definition between the white and the more green mossy stuff, we'll just add in a little bit of wood. It's always good to add in some wood or some detailing, especially where you have two different colors of walls or two different types of walls. It just helps to break up that weird eye-jarring line that forms between them. But now that I have the rough concept for how I want this building to look, it's time to work on the other three walls. The inside, of course, is going to be the barn for the pigs, and then we're just going to take these walls and copy paste them over, roughly to figure out how we want to look. All these walls, though, will be deleted, as I will be creating one single wall with all the correct detailing and then copy and pasting that over. This is just a temporary solution so I can figure out and plan the rest of the building. I always say copy paste is your friend in this game. It has saved me literal hundreds of hours, I am sure. I can't imagine having to build an entire building with this much detail and do each piece individually. If I could just make one wall like this as you're seeing and copy paste that over, oh, so much time saved. Another of my favorite pieces are these European bridge pieces. They add for some great detailing on your stone buildings, and I fully recommend using them for your own builds. Before I get carried away putting a roof on this building, it's time to do the interior. I always say try and get your interiors done before you put a roof on it. It just makes things a lot easier for your camera work. Otherwise, you're just going to be screaming at your camera as you try to get it in those tight spaces to get all those details in. For the top of the building, we'll be using limestone and coloring it. I really like using limestone for these pieces because it looks a lot like plaster. It has all those nice little cracks and definition on it, and it's just overall a nice wall piece. Like I did with the other walls, I'm just going to take this piece and copy and paste it throughout the rest of the build. Makes it very nice and quick and easy. Love me some copy pastes. After that, all that's left to do is a little bit more detailing on the inside, cleaning things up before we put a roof on it. And what does every good pig barn need? It needs a trough for all that pig slop to go into. Because pigs always be eating slop. They love it. They'll eat anything. Really though, pigs will eat anything. Of course, we're going to feed our animals better than this, but I just like a little bit of flavor to my exhibits. Well, flavor, is flavor the right word there? Yeah, you know what, we're going to use it anyways. Try not to think about flavor when you're looking at this pile of slop. I'm sure the pigs aren't. For the roof, we are using the Arctic flat roof. I love it because it has some pre-built beams into it, and it looks really nice from the inside. It just makes the structure look a little bit more supported. As much as I love those Arctic flat roofs, from the top they don't look that great, so I'm going to cover them up and add in a few of these plaster walls and some twilight roof pieces. And here is another piece of building advice for you. Whenever you're doing a roof, don't have them just flush with the wall. Make sure to add in a little bit of an overhang onto them. It always helps with that touch of realism that you want in your builds. And I love detailing the roofs just as much as I love doing the walls. I always add a little bit of extra trimming to the edges of my roofs. Again, just to create that better definition and makes it look a little bit less boring. And just like that, the building is almost complete. All that's left to do is a little door for the pigs so they can get in and out. And it also needs to be wide enough for the keepers to get in there and be able to clean up all that pig mess. It's not called a pigsty for nothing. And what better piece to use for detailing than to come back to these bridge pieces. I do love these ones. I love that you can color them and just make them match anything you want. If you want to, you can even color them that right shade of brown and make them as look like they are actually wood, which I have done before in the zoo. And with the main centerpiece of our habitat complete, let's get on to doing the rest of it. We're going to start with that glorious rockwork I love doing. And then from there, we're just going to detail it with all the plants and just bring the whole thing to life. Now, the game is programmed that the keepers have to have a keeper gate, even though I feel like in reality they should just be able to use the same doors that the guests use to enter the habitat. But since we have to have one, we're just going to hide it inside a little shed building off the side of the habitat. There's also a glaring flaw in this design, so you get bonus points if you spotted it, but we do fix it. That is that the gate is actually in the middle of the building, so when keepers come in, they cannot actually leave the building. So later we adjust the fence so that it is right at the edge of the building. That way the keepers and the animals can actually leave it and go around the rest of the habitat. At this point, I thought the building was a little boring, so I wanted to add in some extra bits to it, and we decided on adding a little overhang area on the outside that we would just fill with random farm equipment that you would find laying around. And right here, I must apologize profusely. I wanted to show the creation of this farm field that we'd made in the middle of the pig habitat, but the footage was lost. Or maybe I was an idiot and I never recorded it in the first place. You can choose whichever one you want to believe, but either way, I'm a big old dum-dum and I lost the footage. But if you want, that farm field will be up on the workshop as well. It is designed for the pigs and has multiple feeders for them to make it look like the pigs are actually runging around and eating all the crops. But now let's get on to the rest of the build and start putting in some trees and some vegetation everywhere, and just make this into a perfect little pig haven. And I absolutely love these mossy rocks. It has everything I love in it. It has the rocks, it has that touch of green, and that little splash of color that you get with those pink flowers. It just, again, just helps bring the whole habitat to life. And they serve as the perfect base to put around the edges of your habitat, and then you cover them with some plants. And you'll see in the end how it all looks. I've said it before and I'll say it again, this is the part of the build that I look forward to most. It's where you get all those beautiful plants in and the whole thing just comes to life in the best way. It brings everything together and makes all those hours of work building the rest of the habitat worth it. And if you're trying to replicate my look of how I do my plants, what I do mostly is I really just pick them at random and I just start placing them and overlaying them whenever I can. In nature, plants tend to just fight for space and are always in each other's business. And there's no real rhyme or reason how it works, and it certainly isn't supposed to look like a pampered garden. So if you want your habitats to look more natural, just put plants randomly over top of each other as much as you can. Try to leave the gardening for outside the habitats. And now I'm just going to create a simple little path at the top of the cliff above the river, just so guests can have a nice scenic walkthrough without having to go into too many of the habitats. But we will leave to decorating most of this path in the next video, which will be featuring our cattle and our goats in one big old habitat. So get ready for that one coming soon. And look, I told you we're going to fix the door, and I keep my promises. We're fixing it right now. And now the pigs have arrived into their new home. I'm sure they're going to love it. And as customary, I pick a pig and I check their traversable area to see if they have any escape routes. And this is one of the few times that I don't actually have to adjust anything. They don't actually escape this time. Hooray, I did it correctly. But look at the time, we are nearing the end of the video. I want to thank you all for watching this far. I hope you enjoyed watching me build this little habitat for the piggies. And if you did, why don't you do those things that YouTubers always like doing, like leaving comments, liking videos, and subscribing. You know, all that general stuff that people like asking for at the end of their videos. And two, if you want to come over and join me on Twitch and give me a follow over there, you can come and say hi while I'm building. I don't always play Planet Zoo on stream, but I do love building games like this, and I always love having a chill time. But that's enough of the cringeworthy shilling of myself. Let's get past all that and get on to what you all want. You want the cinematic route tour for this habitat. So with that, I hope you builders have a great day. Happy building. Goodbye.